Abraham Accords is a joint statement between the State of Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and the United States, reached on August 13, 2020. The accords are named after Abraham to emphasize the shared origin of belief among Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, all of which are Abrahamic religions that talks about the worship of the God of Abraham. Yes. Let's bring in Mr. Hirschauge, Chief Digital Executive at the Israel Hayom. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Let's start the Global Affairs Insider. What are your thoughts to Israel former Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is against the White House to rebuild or restart the Iran nuclear deal?
Thank you, Rayran. I'll limit my answer solely to the Iran deal. Mr. Netanyahu has long been a very vocal opposition to this deal. His views are not unanimously endorsed in Israel and even within Israeli intelligence. While Mossad is now opposed to the deal, and so is the current Israeli government, other Israeli intelligence branches assess that the withdrawal from the previous 2015 deal was a mistake which led to rapid progress in the Iranian nuclear program. Earlier this week, interim Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid claimed that under Netanyahu, not only did Iran get closer to nuclear capabilities, but also that tensions between Israel and the US flared under Mr. Netanyahu.
Do you think that the US government should include preconditions before pushing the nuclear deal with the Iranian government?
Israel's concerns with regard to the deal are much wider than just Iran's nuclear capabilities. Iran is waging a war against Israel through its proxy entities, Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, and is now an established presence in Syria on Israel's northern border. Since the Iran deal is also about removing economic sanctions, Israel's worries center on the armament on its borders, especially when it comes to high-precision missiles.
The former Prime Minister Netanyahu talked to US President Joe Biden about his views on the Iranian nuclear deal. Right now that he is the current president and even before when he was then still the vice president. According to Netanyahu, deal or no deal, when he assumed his re-election, to which he is confident, he will make sure that Israel will make a counter framework in case the US-Iran will prosper and will pursue the agreement. Can you explain to us why Netanyahu feels this way?
So first we must say that Netanyahu is still not elected as the next prime minister. It may happen or it may not. More directly to your question, as mentioned, Israel's worries are much wider than just the nuclear capabilities of Iran, and its current and former governments have seen Iran as a destabilizing force in the Middle East. By curbing Iran's economic capabilities through diplomatic actions and its economic support of its proxies, sometimes through military action, Israel tried to minimize Iran's impact on the region.
Do you think that the US agreement to Iran for nuclear deal can push the proliferation of nuclear in the Middle East region? How serious can it be to escalate further tension given the current situation of making the US Iran framework be on the go?
Sure. Iranian nuclear capabilities have serious implications. The most obvious is that Israeli deterrence takes a serious blow, but also Israel is worried it would quickly lead to nuclear armament of other countries in the region, and a delicate nuclear balance in a very turbulent and volatile region. For instance, in recent weeks, Israeli press had several stories concerning a possible nuclear armament deal between Pakistan and Saudi.
Can you share your final thoughts and perspectives on this issue?
Of course. I'll just point to two things. The first is the importance of looking at this deal through a holistic regional view. This is not just an Israeli Iranian issue, it impacts the whole region. The second is that understanding that some of the most important issues of this deal are economic rather than directly related to nuclear capabilities.
Mr. Or Hirschauge, Chief Digital Executive at the Israel Hayom, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
This is Rayron Del Rosario. That's the Global Affairs Insider. Follow us to our next episode only here in IPDCI News Channel.